Hey everyone, Katie and Sergeant Steele here, and today I want to talk to you about the Leman Russ Executioner. So this is an absolute classic, and here I even have a throwback to the old Forge World turret that you could get, which I really loved because then back in the day, you could get a regular battle cannon variant and then get this Forge World turret to switch it out to the Executioner style. But with that, what we have here is the plasma variant of the Leman Russ. So I won't gawk on too much longer. I love these models. Let's get into their stats. It is, as always, movement 10, toughness 11, 2 up save, 13 wounds, leadership 7, and 3 OC. Pretty tough, nothing to scoff at. Could hold an objective if your opponent doesn't have too much that they're throwing on it. And it's going to stick around for a little while. At T11 with a 2 up save and 13 wounds, it is nothing to ignore. All right, unless you don't have the weapons, then ignore it and just play around it. So, what are we looking at in terms of its loadout? I'm not going to go over all of its weapons, but its main cannon is the Executioner Plasma Cannon. All right, so that has 2 stat lines, just like a regular plasma gun. So you have standard and then you have supercharged. Both variants are 36-inch range, D6 plus 3 shots. It's really great because that means you're either going to get a minimum 4 or up to 10 shots, and you're going to average 6 to 7 shots every time you fire this weapon. I think that's really good in terms of shooting, very reliable. Then let's get into where they're a little bit different. Like all Astra Militarum weapons, though, it hits on a 4. But then after that, for the standard variant, it is Blast, Strength 7, minus 2 AP, 2 damage. So it's a little bit different than like an autocannon, right? Or the older version of that. So with this, Strength 7, minus 2, flat 2. That's going to be good at killing elites and infantry, right? In case your infantry have feel no pains or they have reduced damage by 1. The minus 2 AP usually will put things at a 5 up save at least if they're like Space Marines. And it's going to be wounding those units on a 3 typically. So, right, Space Marine variants, it's going to be decent against Terminators, but with 3 wound models, you're going to be wasting some shots. So it's just something to keep in mind. Then, with the supercharged variant, what we have is it is Blast and Hazardous. It is Strength 8, minus 3 AP, flat 3 damage. That is devastating. That is a huge upgrade. So it increases by 1 on its strength, AP, and damage when you supercharge it. Now let's compare that to the regular plasma cannon, which I do show here on the sponsons of my number 3 Leman Russ. It is normally strength 7 minus 2, 1 damage for the standard variant, and for the supercharge with Blast and Hazardous, it is strength 8 minus 3, 2 damage. So the main cannon gets an additional damage compared to the regular plasma cannon. But that still means the 2 in concert are still very effective together. This one only gets D3 shots versus D6 plus 3 shots. So, but it still gives you the variety there to be able to dish out some pretty significant damage. Now with Supercharge, this thing is going to be able to take out Terminators. It's going to obliterate Space Marines. It's really going to be wrecking stuff. But let's get into its ability and what makes this one unique compared to the other Leman Russ variants, and that is Gung Ho Executioners. Each time this model makes an attack with its Executioner Plasma Cannon that targets a unit that is below half strength, add 1 to the hit roll. Okay, so what they're trying to do with this model is have it fulfill its name, and it's there to finish off units that you've already beat down but haven't taken out yet. And I actually got to say, with its profile, strength 8, minus 3, flat 3 damage, it should be fairly effective at that. So that's actually a pretty good profile to finish off most of anything. And that's where I want to get into its tactics. So how would I use this in a game? That's a great question. Of course, as with most Leman Russes, I would make sure it is screened and I would not get it into combat. You do not want this thing to have -1 to hit. Although its Gung-Ho Executioner's ability could give you +1 to hit. Just keep that in mind. But I still wouldn't want it screened, so I'd want to keep it protected. The other thing I might do is actually put a Tech Priest Engine Seer with them. The reason being is so when I'm supercharging it and then I'm rolling my hazardous test, if I take 3 mortal wounds as a result of a failed hazardous test, because if I overcharge all 3, right, the 2 plasma sponsons plus the executioner cannon, that could be up to 9 mortal wounds. And with the Tech Priest, it gives me a little more resiliency. So I'm going to screen it. I'm going to try to keep it buffed a little bit, keep it alive. The other thing that I'm going to want to do is to shoot this unit last. Yeah, that's right. So I'm probably going to leave this as like one of my final shooting units. I'm going to have my artillery and then the Leman Russ Executioner just before that. And this is going to get good line of sight. I'm going to shoot my other units, and when I don't finish off the Terminators or I don't finish off the Intercessors or maybe an enemy vehicle, I'm going to fire this into it. I'm going to try to take it out. So that's why I do like mine with twin plasma sponsons, the las cannon, and the executioner cannon, so I can guarantee I take out those tough targets. You could do a heavy flamer or a heavy bolter on the front haul. I'm going to go las cannon just to make sure I can take out any target that I need to with this vehicle. So I'm probably going to also have this maybe behind infantry or other vehicles as part of the screening and the shooting. This way, with its 36-inch range, you can really reach out and hit most of the table. As soon as you move forward from your deployment zone, you have range of most of the table. It's only going to be terrain that blocks your line of sight that you really have to worry about with a 36-inch shooting range. So keep that in mind while you do that. And then with the las cannon on the front, you have 48 inches. So that's a lot of distance. If you have your heavy stubber, it's another 36 inches, and then you get the Hunter Killer missile. That's 48 inches range. Also, you can really reach out and touch anything on the table with this. So drive it around, keep it screened a little bit, and pick off those units. I really think this is a great anti-Terminator unit with its strength 8, -3. So you're going to take Terminators from a 2 armor save to a 5-up armor save, 4-up if they're in cover. If you can do something like bring a Hellhound to eliminate that cover, then you have the opportunity to wound them on 5s rather than 4s, which is really effective. And with the flat 3 damage, not a whole lot of weapons in the guard have flat 3 damage. We're talking a Presser Cannon on the Rogaldorn type strength and damage. That is fan-frickin-tastic. That is the kind of stuff you want to eliminate, those tough targets that your opponent is using to hold objectives and to control your movement on the table. Get rid of them. Make them gone. Make them last turn's problem. Okay? Evaporate them. And that's really the way I'm going to run this unit. And I'm going to try to hold it off as, honestly, my executioner finish off things on the table. I think its rules lend to that very well. Now, does it work to use this earlier in the shooting phase? Yes. Yes, it does. I think this thing could eliminate 5-man units of Space Marines pretty well. It's going to dish out some major damage. So if this is your best source of shooting against the enemy, then definitely do it. You could also take it with multi-melta sponsons, and then you could make it the executioner of vehicles and monsters. Get up close, close, I mean like 24-inch range. Get up there and smash it with the multi-meltas and plasma cannon, las cannons, and just evaporate whatever sticks its neck out for you to shoot at. And that's another viable way to run this unit. You could run it with heavy flamers. I think that doesn't lend to what it's intended to do, but you could definitely do that, especially I might recommend that if you're running an all-tank list. The reason being is because the heavy flamers will allow you to clear out the infantry that you may find yourself in melee combat with who diminish your shooting. You get automatic hits and get to take them out. It's always the benefit of heavy flamers and something good to keep in mind. But for the most part, it's going to be these 2 loadouts that I'm going to run. I'm going to screen it. I'm going to bring it up. And I'm going to kill those key elite monster and vehicle units with this unit, if I can help it. I'm not going to fire this unit, even though it has blast, typically into like a unit of cultists or some 20-man blob of something that's just holding an objective. there's just not enough shots to really make a difference. I mean, it gets a decent number of shots, but there's just not enough, right? Say maximum. If I have the last cannon, Plasma Sponson's Executioner cannon on here, loadout, the maximum plasma shots are only going to be 16. You're only going to hit with half to 2/3 of those. You're not taking out the elites that way. You could do it. If you have no other targets, and that's what you need to shoot at, sure. But I really think this needs to focus its time against elites, vehicles, and those types of units, and finishing them off in your opponent's army. All right. That's all I have for today. Really simple review. A great unit. I think it's a beautiful unit too. I love painting the glow of plasma. This is one of my older ones, so you can see I didn't scrape that very well. And the coils are kind of run together, but then I got the newer sponsons, which look a lot better. I do have a tutorial on how I paint these, in case you're curious about that. I'll put that up here above, a little card there. I'll make a note of that. So, I hope you've enjoyed this review, and I hope you also now want to run your Leman Russ Executioner. It's a fairly popular type of Leman Russ, so I don't think I need to tell too many of you to run this. It's probably just as popular as the Battle Cannon and Demolisher Cannon, to be fair. But the next one I'm going to review is not as popular. So the next video is going to be the Vanquisher, so keep an eye out for that. It should be coming out a week after this one. But as always, I hope you've enjoyed this review. If you have, please like and subscribe, and you can watch the other ones here at the end. I'll have a card that shows you all the unit reviews that I have done. I've done well over 24 at this point, and will continue to do unit reviews throughout 10th edition. And if we get major changes when the codex drops, I'll make sure to do updated videos as well. And I hope, as always, have fun wargaming, and remember, Cadia stands.